All right, everyone, we got another special guest today. It is another main event champion. We just had on Greg Merson. This is your reigning WSOP main event champion. It's got a nice ring to it. Koray Aldemir in the house. Koray, how are you?
Pretty good, Jeff. How are you? How's it going?
It's good, man. We got to spend some time together. I guess maybe almost 2 weeks ago now, 10 days ago. We had a good time
We
at
did.
Triton. Got to do some commentary. I know it was your first time actually on the other side of the booth. You're used to playing the high stakes, but you took a little break and got to be behind the booth. How are you doing from there, and how did you enjoy that?
There was a lot of fun, actually. I mean, yeah, as you said, I've never done commentary before. Well, I mean, I guess I was a guest commentator for an hour or something before, but like actually doing it the whole day was different experience for me for sure. Also talking that long in English. I mean, it's obviously not my first language, so yeah, was fun. Was cool to see things from the other side.
And I know you've actually won a Triton event. I mean, you've played. People generally when you see someone win the main event, obviously there's so many entrants, and it's not necessarily a high stakes crusher. I mean, you do play some of the highest stakes tournaments in the world, super high rollers and whatnot. But what is it like for you when you're sitting behind the booth? And it's not like, man, I wish I could play, but you literally could just go over and it's not. You do play there on that size tournaments regularly. How is it difficult, or was it kind of relaxing in a way to just sit back and watch instead of playing?
No, I mean, yeah, it was cool. You guys made it easy for me. Of course, I had to get into it, and I mean, at some point, I was a little bit like, oh man, that looks like a fun tournament. I wish I could play, but I mean, I knew I wasn't going to play, so yeah, they asked me a couple of weeks earlier, and I said, wow, I always wanted to try it, so yeah, let's do it, and that was what I went there for, and
Nice.
yeah,
So
that's what
you
I
weren't
did.
you were like you would like to play, but you weren't like really like, man, you didn't call him and tell Andy and those guys like, hey, I got to get out of here. I need to get in there and start playing. Because I know Rast Brian was really itching. Like he actually was considering to try to take a half day and get in on in a few of those in the short deck. Because I mean the short deck's a different game, right? It's a fun game. It's a different game. Had you ever? I forget now because we spoke on this. I think you're pretty new to that. You've never played a live short deck hand before, have you?
I played like one or two tournaments at the area when they first had it there,
Okay.
and but I think more than half the field hadn't played before, so it was a fair game, kind of.
For sure.
But yeah, I haven't played much, and yeah, was fun commentating on it
Yeah.
because like everybody kind of got into it a little more, and yeah, I mean, I think I personally still prefer regular hold'em, but it's fun to mix it up in my opinion. I like some mixed games in general, and yeah, why not play some short deck every once in a while?
For sure. And I got to ask, I mean, this main event, this was just now at the WSOP that was not in the summertime. So this was in the fall. This is very fresh. You won in November. You took down the World Series main event. It's just so ridiculous. It's your first bracelet. You've got a lot of accolades in poker, but has it like how often do you think about it? Is it something like do you wake up and think about it? Where do you keep your bracelet? Tell us a little bit about what it feels like to be the main event champion, and is it a thing that you literally do you like does it I just feel like I would never stop thinking about it. Like I just never take a smile off my face. It's just such an absurd thing to win the actual main event champion. Tell me about how it feels and what it's like day to day.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple of days or even weeks maybe were pretty insane. I mean, it felt super surreal, obviously, as you can maybe imagine. Yeah, I mean, I of course grew up. I mean, not grew up, but like came up in poker, watching the main event coverage and so on. And you always dream about sitting there one day, maybe, but you don't really think it's gonna happen, and then it did happen. And yeah, so super special. Of course, still I have good memories about it. Of course, I still think about it, but yeah, I guess not every second anymore. And actually, I still like that's a bit weird. Maybe I still haven't watched the coverage. Actually, I mean, I watched like a few random hands, but I haven't watched the whole coverage. I think I guess I'm gonna do that at some point, maybe before the next series, and that's gonna be fun for sure. Like looking back at it, trying to
That
remember how I felt at the moment.
that
Yeah,
that is I mean that is interesting. I guess it's one of those things where you Yeah, I would think that you had, but I know that it's, you know, you come across to me as such a humble guy. Even like when I asked you for a picture today, you sent me like a picture of you in the woods, like in a river, you know, like you're just not like that doesn't surprise me. I just remember a Cribs edition. I don't know if you might be too young. You're what, 30 or 31? 32?
Yeah, 31. Yeah.
They used to do this like card player Cribs edition. I don't know if you've ever seen this, where they would go to people's homes, poker players, and you would get a look into their house. Have you ever seen this series or no, by any chance?
Maybe I have, but I can't really remember. No.
So there's this episode though where there's this guy. His name was like Teddy the Iceman. I don't know if you've seen this before, but he's like guy wears all these chains, like, you know, just it's just such a funny like poker character. But they go to his house. He's got like his TV's on the wall with wires everywhere. But he had, when the card player came over, it was like on loop, like a clip. Like he had maybe like a 10-second clip from the thing. Like it was like on in the background, you know, like the footage on. It was all time like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But he's like,
maybe I need that.
You got, I'll find it. We'll find it. But anyway, yeah, no, you again. I got to know you a little better. We got to spend some time just now in Cyprus at the Merit. That was a lot of fun. And again, I just want to genuinely say like what a humble guy you are from our time together. I really appreciate you, taking the time to come on today. And yeah, look forward to letting other people get a better feel about you and your sort of overall, your cadence. So let's talk about you. Let's dive in before we go to the main event. Let's talk about you growing up. Like, how did you get into poker? I have some notes on what I've heard, but where did you first hear about this, and how did this become a big part of your life?
Yeah, so for people that don't know, I'm German. I grew up in Germany, in Berlin, and I guess poker is a bit less popular in Europe and Germany as in the US. I would imagine. Or at least it was in the mid 2000s, but that's when it first came like into the mainstream a little bit in Germany. At least there was the James Bond film, right, like Casino Royale. I guess that's the first time I like really saw some poker in a movie.
Really?
And then they showed it on TV. Some, I don't know what it was, if it was high stakes poker or poker after dark or even some main event coverage. They showed it on TV, and I thought, like, on the sports channel, and I thought, what is that? Why are they showing people playing cards on sports TV? I want to watch football or soccer or basketball or something, but not playing cards. But then, yeah, I don't know. It became kind of a thing, and then we played with some friends, and I played for the first time when I was like 16 or so. And yeah, I won my first like sit and go we did there. Without knowing the rules really. So I mean, I obviously just got lucky, but I guess that's why I liked it, because usually when I don't win, I don't like a game or whatever. And yeah, maybe that's why I liked it, and start playing a little more. Of course, I don't know, some random free rolls than online at some point, but more like just with friends. It was a hobby. And then when I started studying in university, I met somebody who was a pretty much professional poker player, and I thought, wow, that's super cool. I told him I play some poker too, and that's when I first like got a little bit more into strategy and such. And
Yeah, see here, and this was, I mean, at least, I don't know if this is the first ever tournament you did play, but it was your first ever cash, and you did win it with 63 people. So at this point in 2006, you're saying you weren't like deep in study streets, or you were kind of just experimenting and playing around a game. But had you already been playing online a little then, or was this literally your first introduction of live poker or online at that point?
Yeah, so I got 18 in 2008. And I remember in Berlin, in the casino there, they had these sit and goes on the weekends. Like, I think 20 euro buy-in. It lasted like 2 hours. I mean, it was obviously like a hyper turbo or something. And we used to go there with some friends sometimes on the weekend. It was at the same time as the German football matches, like soccer matches for the US. And we used to watch the games and play the sit and go there. And that's I mean, but that was just for fun, of course. And yeah, like 2010 was when I started studying there, and that's when I met the poker player. And yeah, I played in some local casinos a little bit, but this is the first year that you can see there in 2012, January. That was just the first time I played a tournament that was tracked on Hand and Mob, I guess. And yeah, remember that tournament actually. Was of course kind of a bigger buy-in for me. What was it? 200 euros or something? 250?
200, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, they used to have some daily like 50 euro tournaments or something that we sometimes played, but 200 euro was the first time I played a tournament like that. I think.
And what was your family's sort of reaction at this point? Was just like, would they ever say like, be careful or going to the casino, don't do this? Was that sort of how they looked at it? Or was it almost just like, no, this is entertainment. We trust you. Don't worry, have fun. Or what was their sort of outlook on poker early on when you were playing a bit?
No, I mean they didn't like it too much. I mean, of course, in like when I was like 17 or something, and when it was a hobby, they just didn't mind it. But it was just a hobby. But when I started traveling a little more for poker tournaments instead of going to university and doing like a regular, normal, good thing, I guess, they didn't like it. My parents are both like, I don't know, doing social stuff more. They're social workers, and they don't know anything about the poker world. So it was completely new and foreign for them. And yeah, it took some time until they kind of understood what was going on. And I mean, now I guess my dad thinks it's kind of cool, of course, that I won the world championship, if you want to call it that, and stuff. But at first they didn't really like it. No.
But is it something where are you? Do they follow along like during the main event? In their coverage as it's getting deeper and all this. Like, are they texting you? Do you like update them at the end of the day, or do they kind of just leave you alone, let you be in your place? Or does your dad say, "I love that hand," or "Wow, how'd you make that call?" Or what like are they like engaging with you along the way, or do they kind of like step back and then afterward? I mean, because it's always interesting to see how parents handle, right? Like how involved they are or not, or how they go about it.
So my mom, like, she doesn't follow at all. She doesn't like, she still doesn't know what's going on really in poker. I mean, she knows it's a card game and so on, but she doesn't know the rules, and she doesn't follow it either. I mean, of course, I texted her during the main event that I have a pretty deep run in a pretty big tournament. I mean, that she understands, but she wouldn't like follow the coverage or something. I think she would get too excited anyways, and she wouldn't understand it too much anyways. But my dad, he does follow a little bit. He still isn't like a good poker player at all, but I mean, I guess at least he knows the rules kind of by now, I would imagine. So he does follow a little bit and looks some. I guess he looks on Poker News for live reporting whenever I'm up there. So he watched the coverage. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, no, I think it's one of those things where that seems to be the general alibi. Like, people's parents generally aren't as supportive, or they're worried about it in general, which makes sense. And then as there's some success and different things, they can relax a little bit. But it definitely is, it's one of those things, people don't know what they don't know either, right? Like, if you hear poker and you just assume that maybe it's pure gambling and there's a lot of risk and it's some danger. So it makes a lot of sense where parents don't just jump right on board. Well, tell me about your first big score here. And I guess it was like this, at least on live. 2016, had you already been playing a fair amount online and have some pretty success and playing decent, like what, talk me through this going into the summer of 2016. What size buy-ins are you playing online for tournaments, and how deep into the game are you? Because you really had before then. Yeah.
So what people probably find interesting is that I met some other players who became super successful pretty early in my career. So I met Rainer Kempe, who also is from Berlin, in around 2012 at a tournament, and also Julian Thomas. And then in early 2013, I met Fedor Holz. And then with a couple other players, we became kind of a poker crew. I mean, we had Skype group, stuff like that. We traveled to poker tournaments together, and as you probably know, Fedor got super successful around 2013. He suddenly had some insane scores, played some high rollers, and this is how we kind of got more motivated too, right? I mean, I was still a student at university at the time, and I played some low stakes online tournaments, but I don't know, 2-3 times a week, nothing insane. And that's when I started playing some live tournaments as well. I remember we went to Cyprus, for instance, where I was with you last week. That was kind of my first live poker trip in 2013, and then we went to the Caribbean later that year. Stuff like that. So I got a little more into it, but I still was kind of playing low stakes, mid stakes until around 2015-ish, I want to say. Like 2014, 2015 was when I first moved in with other poker players instead of living with like my friends from university. That's where I kind of shifted. I decided to go more into poker instead of pursuing my studies more. Like, yeah, that's like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
But still playing mid stakes, and around that time, heading into 2016, I first had some kind of bigger scores online as well. I don't know, but my bankroll is still like super low. I mean, I don't remember specifically, but nothing big. And then 2016 was pretty much the breakthrough year for me. I had some scores going up, and I actually played my first 10K this year in Monaco. I remember that EPT 2016. I played my first 10K. That wasn't the WSOP main, that one I had played before. But other than that, first 10K in like May 2016. I had some other deep runs, and then exactly that tournament. And like a month after playing my first 10K, I played my first 100K. That was the one where I obviously sold a lot of action, but that was kind of quick, going from playing like mid stakes online until like the high stakes. That was within a few weeks, basically.
Yeah. That's not a general progression to go from a 10 to 100 just like that. And then, maybe 25. There's even the 50 level, or play a few 25s first, because that, it's even 10 to 25 is a big jump. But how did that come about, and how did you feel when you said you were like, wow, all right, and then like sitting down at your first 100K with what was that like?
Yeah, it was a super crazy summer. I mean, as I said, I had some success this year, and then at the WSOP, I kind of ran deep in a lot of tournaments. I think I had like final 2-table thing before when I got like 12th or something, so no big score yet. But then this one, the summer solstice one, was the first like super big score where I actually chopped with Adrian, who was kind of, of course, a friend by now, but that was the first time I really got to know him. This was my first super big score. And then I think I final tabled another event at the Venetian or something. Yeah, this deep stack thing there where I got 7th. And I was playing very well. And then some friends suggested, dude, why not play the 100K? I mean, they said they're sure that I'm going to beat the field. So I sold a lot of action for that. Did play, and somehow.
Yeah, actually, I remember this. I remember this tournament very well. The bubble, there was some very short stacks, and I don't know if you were there or you were at the table maybe with him even, because there was only 4 tables or whatever. But Antonio Sfandiari got in with jacks to aces on the stone bubble, and he walked out the door because I was in there too, and I was pretty short. And he looked at me and he goes, text me if I win. He literally got his stuff because they like paused all the tables, and he left the left, and then came back and he hit a jack on the river. I called him, and he's to stay in and not bubble. And then he actually went on and made a little bit of a run. I think I got this was a stacked field. There was some big names down here down the stretch, and I remember. I'm trying to think. I got 18th. Antonio got 13th, and wow, that was big money up top. Like, I mean, that must have been pretty surreal to be there after that was your first ever 100K.
First ever 100K, yeah. I mean, I was chip leader after day one, and I mean, I could barely sleep that night. I mean, it was by far the biggest tournament. As I said, like first 10K was like 6 weeks prior or something, so that was pretty insane.
So, give me that actual, because what did it feel like when you actually put the 100 down? Of course, you said some people bought some action, but now it's there's real money in there, right? Like, people are risking money. You're involved. You're in there with your own money too, like playing some. Wait, your parents, for example, like the 10K. That's probably like what do they say when you like, hey, I'm in 100K? Do you even tell them? This is sort of like going skydiving. Some parents wouldn't want to know beforehand. You know, you just like do it and then you tell them. Like, did they know you were playing this, or did how did that go down?
I don't remember specifically. Actually, probably I didn't tell them that. I mean, or like if I did, I explained them that I sold action and don't be scared. It's all good. But yeah, I guess we made the decision for me to play that tournament that day. Even like that was very spontaneously. I mean, some friends said they know somebody who would like buy action, and that's how it kind of happened. And yeah, but I mean, I was super nervous, to be honest. Super nervous. Also on the final table when it started, that was the first super big final table, I guess. I mean, of course, there was this 1K final table where I got heads up with Adrian the week before or whatever. But the one drop final table, like all the TV cameras there, all the big names, that was something else for sure.
Yeah, 5 million to first too. I mean, it's like the final table, it's 384. You're talking about like 4xing or 50xing on a real sizable investment. And I mean, it must have been nice to have Fedor there though, right? He's one of your, like you mentioned, one of your core friends. He's in the middle. He's been on such a heater, and maybe talk and calm your nerves a bit. How was that playing with him there? And obviously you guys both made the podium. So pretty electric score. But yeah, how was that with him there?
Yeah, just insane. I mean, the good thing, I guess, for me was that I kind of was the short stack. And I'm not sure if Fedor went into the final table as the chip leader, but maybe he did. Definitely, he was a big stack. And I kind of had to play tight anyways. And somehow everybody just busted. I mean, I didn't play a crazy amount of hands. I just let it up. And suddenly we were like 6 left, 5 left, 4 left, 3 left. And I was like just the short stack all the time, so that was kind of easy for me in a way.
Yeah, and it's funny how that works out, right? Sometimes like you're in this final table, everyone's doubling, people are surviving, the stacks get close, and sometimes it's a runaway. Stacks get knocked out, guys get all the chips. It's actually fascinating, I think, tournament poker like this, because there's just always different scenarios, always different situations, different people use their chips differently, how it breaks. So I think that's one of the reasons why tournaments are so fun, because it's really always a little different. Even though it's very similar, the principles and concepts, it can just always, you never know how it's going to shake out and how people are gonna perform. Yeah. So ultimately you must have been over the moon at the $2.1 million score. And was this a pivotal moment for your family and friends, that kind of like, all right, this is real, now I'm playing 100Ks and I'm beating them? You must have been over the moon. This must have been like the closest feeling to that winning the main event. I mean, it just like situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Your career.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So that summer, I mean, maybe even more the tournament before, when I like got second or chopped or whatever, that 1500, that was kind of the first, I don't know, kind of life-changing money in a way, first big success, I guess. Like, I don't know, what was it, 300K or something? That was huge. And then and then that one drop was kind of the cherry on top, I guess. Even bigger score, of course, although I of course had way less action in that one. But yeah, after that summer, I mean, I obviously kind of felt that I had made it now, I guess. Yeah. And then from that point on, I suddenly was a regular in the high rollers, like a couple months later, for sure. Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, I don't know. To me, it's fascinating, this type of stuff, because like this is one of those things where, like you said, you're in good form. You're obviously your final table and you're going deep. Your friends know you're playing well. Probably the way you're talking about hands. You're in the discussions. They can just feel it. Hey, we want to buy a PCU. Hey, let's go. But how crazy is the trajectory of your career? And this happens in anything, right? In sports and in poker for sure. One break or one thing, because you could have played great, you could have got cooler, you could have stone bubbled, you could have not cashed, and maybe it's like, whether your friends would probably say, hey, no, man, don't worry, like get in the next one, but you may just be like, you know what, I didn't like that experience, I didn't like that losing money for some people.
Yeah.
I want to stick to whatever. Like it could really shape your in general, right? Like this happens probably all the time to talented players who take a shot and
Absolutely.
depending on their mental aptitude decide to not take it more. So there's a lot of variance and luck in these type of situations because it's hard to cash
Definitely.
tournaments as well, right? You talk about percentage wise, it's only 15% cash, and there's a lot of good players. So I have a feeling you would have found your way up to the high stakes no matter what. But it is interesting to think on this a lot.
Yeah, that's a very good and important point in my opinion. I mean, people of course like talk about luck in poker a lot, like how much luck is involved. Especially like I'm getting asked that a lot now that I did some mainstream interviews or TV stuff as well. And they don't know anything about poker. They always ask like how much luck is in there, and it's of course super tough to answer that question. But what people don't think about are exactly these kind of situations early on in your career. Like winning my first home game with friends, even that one. If I don't win that, if I don't like the game, maybe I will never play again. And same thing. What you just said with my first high roller. Yeah.
I don't want to get overly too philosophical, but it is interesting. It's almost similar if you think about it to someone that makes it as a like it's almost like being born, right? Like the trillion how rare it is. All these things had to happen. Your parents had to stay alive. Your grandparents had to stay alive. They had to make it. These different little swings and how it all shook out. But it's similar, exactly like you're saying. That's even another level of it. Yeah, like I same thing. I used to play with friends at a soccer tournament. We would play. If I was just getting whooped, if I just lost every time or a few times and I didn't have a good time, I might have gone out as well, or any other example of that along the way. So it really is. The path is narrow to get there, and a lot of things have to go right for you to feel comfortable and want to do that. So that's a great point as well. I wasn't even thinking as far back as that, but for sure. So all right, well you do that, you make this big score, you're feeling on top of the world, you're in Vegas, you're young. What is this, 2016? So this is 6-7 years ago.
I'm 25. So
25. You're 25. You're in Vegas, and you got some coin in your pocket. What is it like? You don't strike me as a go out buy a Lambo or something crazy guy. What when you hit that 2 million score? What happened that night? Was there anything different, or was it late and it finished? And the next day, did you get right back into poker the next day, or did you take a few days and let it soak in?
No, I remember that day we partied, of course, with Fedor and some other friends. Of course, Fedor won the tournament. I mean, yeah, we just partied together. I think there were some other people from the final table as well. It was just a kind of big party. But yeah, no crazy story from that. I don't even remember if there was a tournament the next day or something. But I think the main event was after, like a couple of days after or something. And of course I did play the main, and of course I had all the chips in the main again on the first couple of days, I think.
Yeah, it was literally the next day. I mean, there's day one A, B, C, D, so maybe you played one of the, obviously not the next day, but like the very next thing you did hop in and looks like made a run. Yeah,
and I remember I had all the chips on the first 2 or 3 days, so actually the other way around than the main event this year. And I had a huge stake. I remember that I won every hand going to the bubble, but then I kind of lost 2 big hands, and I was out. So it was kind of funny because it could have happened this year too, I guess, but it didn't.
Yeah, and that's again, there's something spiritual in my opinion when you go deep in a tournament, when you're just zen and everything's going right and you're winning hands, winning flips, getting good situations, people punting to you. There's something like really interesting about that. And there's also times where, of course, you get coolered or take a bad beat or make a bad play. It's just wow. Because even, I mean, this main event, like you're in the money here, right? At 940, there's still 1,000 people you have to beat to actually win. We'll definitely dive into that main event run here down as we kind of scroll up. But what point do you start really thinking about in a tournament winning? Because like you're used to high roller small fields a lot. So how do you kind of approach when you buy into a buy-in that has a large field size and one that's a high roller? Because it's really a completely different game and a mental way of approaching and understanding. When you look at a room and there's 50 people to beat or there's 6,000, it's a dauntingly different task. So can you maybe explain how you approach each of those situations?
Yeah, it is different. That's true, and also I guess it changed when I started playing more high rollers. I didn't play those big fields that often anymore. And to be honest, that's a thing I know from some other high rollers that just don't enjoy playing these large fields anymore, because you just, as you said, used to the small fields. You're used to final tabling stuff basically every other day if there's only 50 people playing, and then now you have to run like God basically for a few days until you even get close to the final table. So it's sometimes a bit challenging going back from like these small high buy-in fields to the main events. And yeah, for a bit of time after playing the high rollers, I didn't have any success in these smaller buy-ins for a while. I mean, of course, there's a lot of variance. I mean, people forget that, but kind of felt that I maybe didn't play optimal for a while. And I remember after that year, I didn't cash in the main event, for instance, anymore until this recent one. So yeah, a little bit different skill set, especially on day one in these main events. Of course, like stay patient, stuff like that.
And tell me about, so you said you had all the chips and it didn't work out, and then this year, but the year we were just talking about 2016, but then, excuse me, and this current year you didn't necessarily have all the chips. Could you kind of just run through the days? It's a long tournament. For those that don't know the main event, it's 7 days or 9 days of actual playing, or it's at least,
yeah, it was
week, right?
9 days.
9 days of stringing together, not being knocked out, and being the last one remaining out of 6,650 entrants. So tell me about your day one, sort of, not every day, but what was like, where were you in the chip rankings roughly throughout the 9 days? Like how was your graph?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was a short stack or like until day 3 basically. I think the first day I finished with, I don't know, 40,000 ish. I think so, 60,000 starting stack, like less than starting stack, half the starting stack.
Yeah.
And I played a kind of a big hand. I mean, I've taught that before, so I don't want to get like too much into it. But I folded a straight. Or I folded, what was it? Oh damn. I think it was Jack 8 6-5 or whatever, and I folded the 7-4, where I thought my opponent had a bigger hand, very likely, and so I folded on the turn to a 3-bet, and it ended up being the correct fold because she had the 10-9, the nut straight, and that was kind of the key hand in a way, I guess. I mean, of course, again, there's variance. I could have been wrong or whatever. But with me ending up winning that tournament, that hand kind of felt like the early key hand. And I remember after the day, I was kind of happy, although I had a bad day, because I kind of felt like I was free rolling in a way. Because usually I was supposed to be out in that hand, but I remember being proud of myself for making that fold early in a tournament for the reasons we just talked about before.
Yeah.
So that was a big turning point in a way. Second day wasn't great either. I finished with, I don't know, 30K, and then day 3 it went up, and from that, just every day was good basically. Day 3 I already had a big stack. Then I got like a few presents, and in a way I won some big hands to double twice, and from then on I had a big stack. Going into the bubble, I had a big stack. And I think from day 5 on, I was pretty much chip leader all the way, which is insane for a tournament. This doesn't usually happen like that. I also was only all in for my tournament life once. This was on day 2. But I've said this before as well. I mean, I don't want to say I played so great I wasn't all in. This is running well as well, right? Like not getting into certain spots where you just have to put it in.
Right. Yeah. And give us an idea on how highly valuable the main event is in preserving life because of the tournament. Like, what kind of folds are you willing to make? You just illustrated a very big fold, to fold basically, the second nuts or whatever, have like a straight on a board where, you would almost never want to fold because you're just so hard to make that strong of a hand. Like, are you folding, kings to aces under the right circumstances, sub like 25 blinds even, or is there certain like lines in the sand where you're just like, you know what, like I'm not folding pocket kings when I have 20 big blinds in the main event, even if it's like raise 3-bet, or if it's like I open and get 3-bet, you know, by a guy that never is gonna. If you're just sure he only has aces, because he's still gonna, you know, whatever, queens or ace king. Like, give me some sort of some guidelines that you would just make. Like,
I mean, it's tough. Of course, it's tough to make like a generalization. I mean, I guess it's kind of it wouldn't come up too often to fold kings for 20 bigs, for instance. And I think one mistake that has to be avoided is playing too careful, because if you think you have an edge, if you just fold every close spot all the time, you're not gonna make it. You're just gonna blind out at some point. So it's kind of, you have to find the right balance. And I mean, me winning the main event now doesn't make me the biggest main event expert in the world now. So I mean,
you're maybe not the biggest. You're the reigning. You're the reigning.
My opinion. Yeah, I know, but it's still kind of just my opinion, I guess. I know there are some really good players that would say they're just going to play the same. They will just take all the chip EV spots, and I guess they will have a bigger stack more often than me. But I kind of like preserve my tournament life a little bit more, I guess, in the early days. But giving like a percentage is kind of tough if you're willing to go to take like a 60-40 early in the main, for instance, or like where the line is it at like 65-35? Right. I don't know. I would probably take a 65% to double up first hand, but it's right. It's tough to say really, and it's also I guess kind of tough to do the math because nobody really knows how big the ROI is. There's like people have very different thoughts about that. I mean, I know that some people bought players for like 4.5 markup in the main.
Wow.
And then there are players who said nobody has an ROI higher than 200%. So it's very different what people think, even like the brightest minds in poker, which makes it interesting, I guess. Nobody really knows apparently.
Yeah, it shows there's still a lot of thoughts and different opinions. So that's part of what makes poker fun, right? That's why even now with these softwares and solvers and all this stuff, it still doesn't necessarily mean that one thing is always right, or you start talking GTO versus exploitative, and it's, you know, it's why it's interesting, right? It's why we all love it, and the game isn't cracked yet. It's not completely solved, and live poker is going to be prevalent for a long time. What do you think gives sort of, I'm just going to bundle you guys, like the Fedor and, you know, your crew and you and some of these guys that Stefan Sontheimer, these guys that have had so much success and are such great players. Like, what are some attributes that you believe you guys have? Or, I mean, I don't know, I want you to speak for everyone. Let's just take yourself. You're obviously part of this sort of this group, but what are some things that you believe to have so much success that is a key in your game and in your sort of your overall outlook and understanding of the game of poker?
It's tough to say, to be honest. I mean, this was kind of pre-solver era as well. Like solvers just started, and so when we came up in poker, we just talked about poker a lot. Me personally, I was just a very, very big poker fan. I mean, it was the number one thing in my life, kind of. When I didn't play, I like to watch live streams. I of course like to talk hands with friends. I like to watch some strategy videos or whatever. When solvers first came out, I tried them out a little bit. I just was really into it. I guess I was just a pretty good poker player at the time. It's kind of tough to figure out what attributes make a good poker player, I guess. And in my opinion, at least, poker is just the discipline of poker. If that makes sense, because I'm like in these mainstream talk shows, I'm getting asked again, like, what makes you a great poker player? Is it psychology? Is it math? And I'm like, yeah, it kind of is math, but doesn't make a math professor a good poker player. It's just an own thing. You'll just get better at poker if you study poker or play poker and nothing else. So,
right.
Not sure if my point makes sense, but it's kind of
no, of course. I mean, no, I also just some you know, there's different characteristics, attributes, if you will, about like bankroll management. You know, like you kind of said, discipline, maybe preserving tournament life. Is it understanding stack sizes, like 10, 20, you know, short stack play, you know, certain things that maybe I guess it kind of all goes into one, right? You can't have too many leaks if you're going to be a great poker player. You have to kind of be very solid at a lot of the different things. And is that something have you ever gone broke? Like since you started, like you came up playing with friends, you always kind of did it the right way. Even like when you played higher, you sold pieces. There's two different stories in my book with poker players. Like I have friends that have been broke 5, 10, 20 times where they bust their bankrolls. And then there's a lot of the ones that maybe never did or only once, twice max when they were young did. So, I would imagine for you, it sounds like you sort of adhere to a stricter buy-in and guideline and sort of responsibility with that. Is that true? Or did you, at the very early stages, did you ever have any kind of, it's kind of hard to say go broke when you're 16 or 18-year-old and you lose your
exactly.
It's not really necessarily going broke, but I guess like once you hit a threshold of X amount to sort of keep going, is that fair to say that you just, once you kind of broke into a real amount of money, you were able to just kind of progress?
Right. Yeah. I mean, exactly that. I mean, after what was it, 2016, for instance, I didn't go broke. But of course, in the early months or even years of my poker career, it also wasn't about the money for me. Like first of all, it was just like a hobby that at some point even made me some extra money, but I didn't look at it that way really. So I guess I did go broke maybe, but I didn't really have a bankroll to begin with. I just played with my money, like some other people would have different hobbies or whatever. But yeah, once I had a certain bankroll, that I didn't really go broke. But I mean, I did take some shots and so on. It's not like I'm the most conservative guy when it comes to that. My friends can confirm that, I guess. But yeah, I was definitely more careful than some other people out there, I guess. But to be fair, most people that make it to the top, I want to say, have been kind of careful with their money more often than not, at least.
For sure. And what is something you do, let's say during the WSOP, and it's a lot of tournaments back to back to back. Do you generally wake up and play every day, or will you just kind of decompress, take a day off? It's like, I don't want to, flick in a smaller buy-in. Do you select your schedule, or do you kind of just go with how you're feeling and, depending how things are and what's happening, just roll with it? Or do you actually like go into the summer or the series and you say, look, I'm playing this event, this event, this event, this event. What's your general strategy with buy-in selection and tournament selection?
Has been very different over the years. So when my first few times in Vegas, where I also sold action, I mean, I had these spreadsheets. I was also looking forward to the WSOP so much. Like weeks before, I made a spreadsheet with every tournament that I could play, like on all the different casinos, etc. Then when I started playing the high rollers, I basically just played the high rollers. I didn't play all the WSOP events anymore. I played more at the Aria even than at the Rio. But for instance, this past series, I was super motivated to play, and I was prepared to basically play almost every day at the WSOP, and also play some mixed games. Actually, I started like mixing it up a little bit. I mean, I didn't really study that much in the mixed games, but like a good friend of mine is pretty good at them, and I kind of got into it as well. I wasn't super motivated to like study to play these super high stakes anymore anyways last year. So I played more mixed games. I played every day pretty much at the Rio last year. Didn't have great success. So it was kind of funny that I won the main event this last year, actually, where I played less of these high rollers, but I won the main somehow. Yeah.
It's pretty nuts. And what's your preference? Do you like to get a house with a group of friends? Do you like to have your own Airbnb or hotel and just be in your own zone? Or have you done some of both over the years at WSOP?
So this past year was the first time I had a house with friends. We had there were like 5 of us, I think, 4 or 5. Yeah, 4 at first, and 5 of us. The years before, I always stayed in hotels or like these apartment hotels, like what are they called? The first year I stayed at the Palms place, I think, the first time I was there, 2014. And then, but yeah, I've stayed at different places. When I when I played more at the area, I used to stay at the strip more, and then yeah. But this past year I was at the house, and I guess the next 2 years I'll be in a house as well, because yeah, it's fun to get away from all the lights and noise every day for a bit at least.
Yeah, I'm sure at this point you'll no matter what, you'll find a way. You'll get a group of guys that's a good formula. I think you see that works, and that's
right. Yeah.
So you'll be definitely doing that. And what about hobbies when you're out there? Do you like to go to Red Rock? Do you go hiking? Any golf? What's sort of what do you do to unwind when you're not playing poker during this time?
Yeah, I mean, I assume some poker players can relate. I mean, when I'm there for the poker, I actually play poker most of the time, because at least these days I don't play online that much anymore. So when I go to a tournament stop, I usually try to focus on the poker mainly. But of course, like not 24/7. So yeah, the stuff WSOP I played pretty much every day. And if not, I like sports. I'm a big football guy, for instance, like soccer. I like to play that. And yeah, WSOP, for instance, it's always just so cool because there are so many friends out there, right? Like over the years, I of course got to know a lot of people. So there's always somebody out there who wants to do something. So if you're up for night out or something, you will probably find somebody. And I like to do some sports every once in a while when I get the chance.
And the World, did you guys win the World Cup this last year? The team, the tournament,
the Soccer World Cup. No, we Germans did not win. The Austrians kind of won. If I remember correctly, they had a very, very strong team.
Yeah,
some ex kind of professional players and so on. Super young guys. Yeah, tough to beat.
The Austrian Germans, that it's such a, and so you spent time in obviously grew up in Berlin, you spent time in Austria. I feel like the Austria German, it's almost like confusing, intertwined with poker players. Like it's sort of, people live in one place or the other. Tell me about Berlin versus Vienna, for example. Give me some pros and cons in the cities and what you prefer to be in, because those are two cool cities. I actually went to Vienna for the first time this past year. I think I was there in last September, and I've been to Berlin as well. Both very interesting, kind of happening, vibrant cities that I would like. But you've spent significant time in some of those, so can you tell me a little bit about that and what your choice is on where you live?
Sure. Yeah, I guess it also gets a little bit confusing for some of the non-Europeans, like all the who's German, who's Austrian, like what's up with the flags. So yeah, like just a lot of the German poker players live in Austria, which is a small country next to Germany, and we also German speaking, so it makes sense to move there if you don't want to live in Germany. And in Germany, online poker is kind of tough to play these days. There's some regulations. You can't play more than a certain amount of tables, I think, or like deposit that much. And then the tax situation is a little bit better in Austria too. And it's just a super big community these days in Vienna. A lot of German poker players live here, some Austrians, of course, and some other countries too. Yeah, I grew up in Berlin. I never want to leave Berlin, but I moved to Vienna, Austria for studying, actually, originally, university that we talked about earlier. I used to study psychology, but it didn't finish. And yeah, with the fact that the poker community was just starting to build here in Vienna, I of course never left, and I just stayed here. I like both cities a lot. I might move back to Berlin at some point because I think Berlin is just super cool. It's just my city, I guess. But living in Vienna is also super nice. I think Vienna and Melbourne are always the two cities that win kind of best city in the world award, or like best city to live in. I guess I don't know what they look at exactly, but a few factors. And yeah, Vienna, super nice city. Definitely should check it out, viewers. I mean, you've been there, Jeff, but who hasn't been here should definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's cool. And Melbourne, you mentioned, Melbourne. They call it Melbourne. I always like to say it's confusing. No one knows you're talking about. You're talking about Melbourne, but this city in Australia is a very, very cool city. It's got a great energy and vibe too. And I think I asked you haven't been to Montreal yet. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I haven't. Yeah.
We're gonna get you there, man. That's that you are. If I may ask, you are currently single or in a relationship? Just so the viewers, we're not a huge female audience centric, but it's important, I think, to let people know. Are you on the market, Koray? Not, or just don't want to say? No problem. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I'm single. I'm single. Is that a reason to go to Montreal, in your opinion?
My wife watches this podcast sometimes, so I'm not going to say much. I'll just say if you're single, it's a cool place. They have great poker room there at Playground Poker. It's a fun city. I'll say that. It's actually the best thing I'll say about Montreal is it's what I would say the only city in North America that has a European feel to it. Like it just has that, like it feels like you're in Europe, and it's also very well reasonably priced. I mean, the Canadian currency is pretty, favorable to Europeans and Americans even, and just everything's reasonably priced. And I got nothing but positive things. I would put that on my top 3 city list in the world as well, up there with Melbourne. And
Cool.
I liked Vienna a lot. I was kind of just playing online, and I did get to see some of it and experience, but I was there with my wife and son. I didn't get to get like a full, single what it would be like to go out, and I don't know the nightlife really is much there. So I
mean, Vienna is just much smaller than some of these other big cities, right? I mean, there's just like 1.5 million people living here, so it's of course everything is still more calm, I guess. But it's nice to live here. I guess it's beautiful. It's like pretty. It's safe and so on. But I'm sure like the nightlife is more exciting in some other spots.
Yeah, no, but I guess depends, like you said, quality of life and just overall pound for pound. Very, very, very strong city. What is give me your WSOP plans for this year? What are you planning to do? Is this one of the years where you have it mapped out, or I guess still a ways away, but we are coming around the corner. It's only what, 6 weeks, 5 weeks away. Are you going Excel spreadsheet, or are you coming in with sunglasses on and your board shorts and just kind of winging it this year?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I mean, I will definitely go. Of course, I'm going to try to defend the title, but I'm not sure if I'm going to stay the whole time again this year. So I haven't played too much actually since the beginning of the year. Too much poker in general. Only one tournament stop so far, but now there's some coming up, and of course the WSOP is one of them. But yeah, I'm not sure. I will definitely be there, and we already have arranged a house, so that's going to be good. But I'm not sure if I'm going to stay the whole time or not.
And what is overall your kind of poker crew, like your core? Say, let's take 2016, 17 years, 18, because I know some of the guys have sort of gone into other paths and maybe still dabble in poker, but you don't see them all the time. What are like, would you say your core group's still intact, or are they just playing a lot less poker? Some of the names you've mentioned so far.
No, I mean the original crew from like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, like even 6 years ago. Of course, it isn't the same anymore. I mean, things changed. Like a lot of them aren't that much into poker anymore. Some went back to university. I mean, the cool thing is everybody was pretty successful. So but I mean, I guess a lot of viewers know. I mean, Fedor did some other things, isn't like doing poker full time anymore. So yeah, those guys aren't necessarily my poker crew anymore these days.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, whenever we are all at poker stops, we hang out together. It's tough to name a single crew. I think also the crew thing is maybe a little bit overrated. Sometimes there used to be this Germans versus American thing from the media back in the day. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because a lot of us Germans came into the high roller scene at a pretty similar time. But I mean, I'm friends with a lot of the Americans, etc. Especially nowadays, not so many Germans anymore in the high rollers, anyways. So yeah, it's mixed up way more than people think for some reason.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of buy-ins though too, like, I know the WSOP, they have some 100Ks, 250Ks. Do you have set in your mind what you'll play? Would it maybe depend how you're feeling in form, game time decisions, and just fields? Like, what are some of the things you talk me through deciding on schedules. Is it just sort of like you go out there and then go with the flow, see how you're feeling, what's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, originally, I thought about playing more mixed games last year already, right? And so the idea was to maybe get better at mixed games and play some mixed games, do some studying maybe, but I didn't. So I'm not sure if playing the whole mixed game schedule is going to be a thing. I'm really not sure if it's going to depend on my mood, to be honest. I mean, of course, the high roller tournaments are still a lot of fun, but I mean, if there's only the best 15 people in the world playing, I haven't done too much studying lately, so I mean, I'm not just going to give away my money, I guess. But some of the more fun events I will definitely play. I will just decide spontaneously how I feel, to be honest. Yeah, no set plans this year.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I want to ask you about when you travel. Like here, we got you take down the Triton event. This was in the Philippines, and it's $1 million Hong Kong. So what's that? That's probably like 125K. Is that right, in that range?
Yeah.
In 40 entries, you take it down. When you go there for this tournament, do you have a plan on? Do you come in the day before? Do you come in a few days before when you're going on long trips in different time zones and whatnot? Like, and also, do you get to enjoy the city? Do you carve out time before or after a trip to get to see places? And let's just take that example for a Philippine we hadn't been before.
Yeah, it depends. For like super long trips, I like to go like at least a day before, like 2 or 3 days better. Like if there's like a 9-hour time difference, for instance, there's 9 hours between like Germany and Austria and Las Vegas. It's always 9 hours. So I wouldn't fly there and play the tournament the same day. I'm just gonna fall asleep later in the day. Yeah, I remember this Philippines tournament. I went there from Australia, I think, so it wasn't super far. So still a long flight, but I was kind of in similar time zone already. So I guess we flew there the day before. I don't remember exactly. And yeah, sometimes I like to add a day or two to explore a new place. But like, to be honest, I mean, these poker tournaments are like the coolest places in the world, right? But they're very often in the same places each year, right? So Melbourne is pretty like one of my favorite cities in the world, but the Aussie Millions is there every year, so I don't have to explore Melbourne every year. I guess. I mean, I like to go out there or like do stuff, but yeah, I don't have to explore Barcelona every year. I go there for the EPT, for instance. Yeah, it just depends. But when I'm going to a new place, I try to make make time to explore it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That was actually one of my next questions. Like on the tour, you've been on for a while now and traveling. What are some of your favorite cities for poker and or just for whether it's a venue or for you to get to enjoy when you're there? Give me maybe a couple, like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the ones that I just mentioned, Melbourne, I like a lot. It's always January, February is summertime there. Like obviously, winter here in Europe, so maybe that plays a role as well. To escape the cold and fly into the summer there, and people are just super friendly there. The poker is great there, the Aussie Millions. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to happen anytime soon there again. I hope so. Yeah. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. I mean, of course, Vegas is up there for the poker. I love playing in Vegas. I had my biggest success in Vegas. The best tournaments in the world are in Vegas. Yeah, I was in Panama once for playing. That was maybe the most exotic place I played at.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool, like seeing some of those places that you maybe wouldn't see otherwise. Yeah.
And actually, speaking on Germany and Austria, where would you? I think P.S. Heinz one was that 2012 or 13? No, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
10 years.
11 maybe 20. Maybe,
11,
yeah,
12. That sounds right. Yeah. So, did you notice? Was there a big boost in popularity there? Was that well covered? And how has it been in general in the last years in Germany and Austria in terms of poker popularity from your feel?
Yeah, so I remember this is when I first started becoming like a poker fan, right? I remember staying up all night and watching that main event final table when Pius won, and following that. That was kind of fun memory. Was there
Was
a
that
poker?
something that was aired? Was that like on a local or a German
No.
station, or was that like you had to get on some coverage and VPN or do something and get on your computer and whatever like that type
Yeah,
of
I
stuff?
mean, no, you won't find like poker coverage in the mainstream media. I mean, that's or like live coverage. That's not going to happen. But there's like on the sports channel, there's like episodes, just like I guess that are aired on ESPN
Yeah.
later as well. You will find them, but not live. No.
So
Uh,
that wasn't at the time, like from what you're aware of your run this past year or PS Hines, there wasn't like, breaking news like final table or win champion. I would think that would get, it's a major thing. It's like winning the Masters. It's more money than winning the major golf tournament or a lot of major events where there's purses. Like it would, to me, it seemed like it would catch some sort of mainstream news. No?
Oh yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was in the news. It was in all the mainstream. I mean, I can say this year. I guess it was the same when Pius won. No, like that day, it wasn't all the news everybody reported about, like me winning. But I mean, it just wasn't like live streamed. Yeah, no, but like my grandma, for instance, she saw it in the news that I won. I hadn't like called her or anything, and she was, wait, that's my grandson. So
That's
that was
amazing.
kind of funny, and of
Well,
course,
and that shows it is pretty mainstream, right? If your grandma is getting whatever news or outlet she's reading, I doubt she's getting, watching the main sports channels or whatever. So it must have been fairly well covered, or maybe a friend let her know or something. But still, that shows there was pretty good outreach.
no, yeah. It was on all the news that day in one of the newspapers and so on. So there's some mainstream interest. I mean, I'm getting some requests as well from like talk shows and some TV studios and so on. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to become sport number one here or anything, and it's not going to be on prime time TV. But yeah,
Yeah.
people are interested in hearing about poker at least a little bit. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely true.
I was talking with Bill Perkins the other day about this exactly, that this, and there's something working on with him at the moment, which I think I did mention to you about when we were in Cyprus. But I think that's one of the biggest problems with poker is that if you are at a bar or a place and poker's on TV, the problem is that most people just don't understand. Like it's like if you actually could explain to people what beat what, and like under the very basic principles were able to be, your wife or a friend or the person you're dating, for example, like a girl, like that they could understand if they saw it on TV and they were like, wow, like, okay, this guy's a flush draw, this is a 2-1, or oh, this is the prize pool, this is what's going on. Like if you could just give the very basic sort of drama of it, it would be a lot more interesting. The problem is many people just don't understand. Like you put it on, it'd be like watching cricket to me. If you put cricket on TV, I haven't really had a chance. I don't know the scoring. I don't know what's happening. It's just like, so you have to find a way to sort of like educate people in a fun way, but quickly for them to get the basics. And that's, I think, I think that's something that's lacking. And just, it's just why, like, if you see it at a bar, most of the people won't understand what's happening.
Yeah.
So of course they're not going to want to watch. Like if you just like, throw on some random thing that like no clue how it works or scores or who's winning or what happens. But at the same time, like poker is I think such a fundamentally pretty easy, intuitive thing to learn, right? Like once you learn the hand rankings, kind of some basic math on it, fun. It's just that's, I think there's a gap in that, and it's also, are people really willing and wanting to learn? Do you feel, what do you feel the health is of poker based on like seeing online live numbers, online stuff? Like how do you feel the current state of poker is right now, just from your sort of observations?
I mean, I guess live tournaments are as healthy as ever, right? Like a lot of tournaments have like record numbers, especially after the pandemic. I think people were waiting to play live again. I mean, of course, during the pandemic, we had like very big numbers online. So, yeah, I guess that's good. Of course, like with the online poker world, there are some issues we have to deal with. Like first and foremost, I guess AI getting better, programs getting better, which is an issue definitely for live poker, for online poker. So that's going to be a challenge to deal with that in the upcoming years. But I'm pretty sure that at least live poker is gonna stick around for quite some time. It's just a cool game, and people like playing cards. People like gambling. Yeah.
For sure. And before we take, there's a lot of questions. This is we're gonna go to. We'll go over here and grab some of these. I know there's a lot, so we're not gonna get to answer all of them. We will spend some time here. What is? Tell me about downswings at high stakes, because I mean, obviously, win the main. First 100K you play, you get third for 2.1 million. All this is great, but looking here, 2019, you score for 734,000, take second place. A lot of times there's some deals. Looks like here you guys did do a deal, because that's why it's so close between first and second. So you basically win that tournament. But then even here, like scoring some decent scores, but for bigger buy-ins, and I'm sure there's some bricks and rebuys in here. Like how do you deal with it when it is a bit cold? Because I mean, it looks like, again, I don't know how much you're playing during this time, and I guess this is COVID. Is that true? So maybe why there's not really as much going here. So that actually, just looking at it, maybe it's not even a downswing. Maybe there's just nothing going, and you never lost your stride. But I'm sure there's been some spells and patches where it's not all roses for you. How do you deal with that when kind of things aren't going swimmingly well? What are some things you do to try to shift your mind or stay positive?
No, it's definitely like one of the biggest, if not the biggest challenge as a tournament poker professional, to deal with that, to deal with the mental side of things. It's not easy, especially if you're playing like too high, I guess, because I mean, even as a super good poker player, I mean, I don't have to tell most of you guys, I guess, if you run bad, you're gonna run bad, and you're not gonna cash, and it's gonna happen at some point. So yeah, always try to improve, I guess. I guess one of the key factors is don't play too high. I mean, if you realize it's gonna hurt your mental health, you're feeling sad or whatever, then don't play as high, and because that's a problem. It shouldn't happen. Of course, it's not gonna feel great if in a downswing, but it shouldn't, like, yeah, you shouldn't get depressed by it, and then that's definitely a sign that you've played too high or too much or whatever. So yeah, I try to remind myself that variance is involved, but in both ways, right? That's important, even if it's going well, and you have to remind yourself, probably I was running good as well. So yeah, always try to improve, always question it, and look at the bigger picture, right? I mean, if you look at like a couple thousand tournaments or whatever online, then it would be good if the overall graph goes up at some point. And if it doesn't, maybe it's not the right thing. But yeah, variance is just a huge thing. Even people that know about variance still sometimes underestimate it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that is we covered this a bit about the luck in terms of how things shake, or at what point you're because again, there's a lot of flips and stuff too, and tournaments deep, or huge EV flips that you might not even get. It could take you a year or two to get into one EV flip that you could have, that could go not your way or go your way maybe a few times in a row, right? So it's like this is very tricky to deal with, because it's like no one, it's hard to really compartmentalize that, to understand what the impact of that is, and how important it is, and how that can set your career. So I think that's it's hard, and it just kind of teaches on. You have to sort of experience it, and hopefully it's more fun. Obviously, they say winning solves everything, right? When you're winning and things are going well, it's a lot easier. When things are not going so well, that's when you can really be tested and put in some tough spots. So I think that makes perfect sense. And what aspects of poker do you really love? Like competition, sociability, travel, for example, and what are there aspects that you don't really enjoy about poker and playing professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I always liked like games, competitions, even as a kid. I mean, I liked playing, I don't know, board games. I liked like sports, etc. I always liked these challenges, games with friends. So it was kind of a good pick for me, poker, I guess, because I was also good at math. So it was a good combination for me. I think it's just a great game, to be honest. Even the best players in the world can still improve, right? I mean, the rules are fairly simple, but even the best players can still improve, and these are like very good things for a good game, in my opinion. The luck and skill factor is in a good yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's good that luck is involved. Otherwise, the best player would always win. I think that makes the game usually a little bit worse.
Phil Hellmuth told us that a long time ago, right? He gave us that insight into luck and skill and how he win everyone. He's got some famous quotes about that, but yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and of course, for me personally, getting to travel the world and so on was like super cool for me. And yeah, the negative aspects are what we just talked about. I guess you won't make a steady income. Just as in most professions in life, you have to be good at it. Like some people underestimate being a professional poker player. Sometimes I think they only see like the big money and the vacations, but you have to work to get better, just as in everything in life. But of course, the upside can be pretty good, but the downside can be pretty bad as well if you overestimate yourself.
Yeah, I think another, just to tag on to that, I think one of the things about poker too, which you could say again for different jobs and different things, when you look at pay or how much you're making, you got to look at your happiness, the quality of life factor as well. And like even with poker, some of this stuff like this is sort of packaged in. Like when you look around and you look back on your career or from your plays, if you've been playing for 10 years and you let's just say you haven't won the main event, which most of us haven't, or maybe you don't have a bracelet, or maybe you're even like net down or even.
Come on, Jeff, try harder if you haven't won the main event yet.
That's true. I mean, listen, it's possible. Anyone could do it. It's coming up very soon. It's about 2 months, less than 2 months away. The reality is you can take those, though, if you really look and you were to write down and sort of take all the relationships, the contacts, the interactions, the places you've gone. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of people that maybe have made more money and are sitting at their desk 9 to 5 or whatever, could be doing anything or doing nothing and just kind of going along the way, and you're getting to live, experience, and do a lot. So I think that's, for me, that's like, obviously I've pivoted a bit from like just playing. I do a lot more content and stuff for poker, but I personally like that's what gives me the most joy. And when I look back, I'm like, oh, maybe I could have traded or done this or started. Like I really don't think I would change for almost anything, just more because of opportunities and experiences and learnings that I've got from poker. I think that's something that's very underrated. That I think poker, if approached and handled correctly, I think it really translate well to other areas of life. Like in general, you can apply it to so many things. Like it's sort of like a metaphor for life, and you really it comes at you fast. That river hits you hard. That success, the failures, other people's success, other people's failures. I mean, that's another thing. Like when you're with a group like yourself, like you're sort of overrated and you're friends with a lot of people, but how do you handle other people's success? How are your other friends are having a lot of success or a stretch, and maybe you're not having a good stretch? Are you happy for them? Are you aiding them? Are you being supportive when they're not having success? So I just think that's one of the things I would say to piggyback that. I think there's just a lot of positives you can take out of poker, and I think too much it's focused on negatives in poker. People like say, oh, it's gambly and this addictive, but like you could say anything, man. There's how many people are addicted to Minecraft or watching Twitch or watching. I mean, how many people watch TV? I know in America it's crazy. Like I just know how many people sit around and they watch like 6 hours of TV a day. Like you're telling me that's productive? Like that's great. Like that's not like you're doing changing the world by doing that. So anyway, that's my tangent. All right, let's dive in. Let's get to questions because I know there's a lot, Koray. People want to hear from you. They want to know. They're coming in as we speak. I don't even think we're gonna have enough time. So we won't do all of them. We're gonna do a few before we do have a $100 giveaway. People are, when they see this after it's recorded, it'll be probably too late because we're gonna select it live. But they have had a chance to ask questions. So let's try to get through some of these, and I think probably some of these I've already asked, so we won't ask all of them. We'll just kind of we'll start with this. We did already cover this about winning. How does it feel to win WSOP main event? But did you pay the whole ticket or did you sell a part? I assume you paid the whole one, but the question I would say is, did you swap? Because I'm sure you're buying your own 10K main event ticket at this point in your career. But what about swapping, and how do you feel about that in this tournament? Is that something you do with some friends?
Yeah, I had a few swaps, not too many, so that was good for me, I guess. But of course, I was happy for my friends that had a piece. I had like 2 or 3 people I swapped kind of like late-ish in the tournament with, but none of them made it super far. So yeah, I had a good amount of myself. I don't want to say exactly, of course, but yeah, I had a few swaps. Yeah.
Nice. What part of the tournaments do you think players usually make the biggest minus EV punts? If you could say a stage, like where do you see people? Maybe the beginning, do they play way too fast, or is it the ICM? Between 8 and 13, where it's the heaviest. Where do you think people make the biggest mistakes? Population tendency.
I mean, dollar-wise, that has to be where the big money is, and that's on final tables. I mean, final table stage is just where the most money is made. So there you will make the most costly mistakes for sure.
That makes perfect sense. How big of a target do you think you're going to have playing in the main event this year, just in general? This is like, we did chat about this as well. It's interesting because you all of a sudden kind of get put into people. Most poker players know who you are, but now almost every poker player will recognize you or be aware of that. Do you think you have a target on your back, and have you even thought about how you might need to adjust your game to this yet, or is it just sort of?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm not sure, to be honest. I haven't played a ton of live poker since, as I said, so I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be this main event. Like in the first 1 or 2 events I played after, it was actually a little bit different. I mean, when the first main event I played, I could see that people were excited getting into pots with me. So I'm not like, I mean, it's not going to be that way most of the time, but maybe sometimes. So yeah, curious how it's going to be and if it's going to affect anything.
And would you recommend anyone to start a career as a poker player? This is a very broad question, but maybe give me your advice if someone was going to start.
So,
let's say,
so like I actually do have an advice there. You have to enjoy it. If you enjoy it and aren't in there for only the money, then do it for sure. I mean, but you shouldn't. Yeah, it definitely has to start as a hobby, in my opinion. You shouldn't have, like, if you're starting at 0, you shouldn't have the goal to becoming a millionaire by playing poker. In my opinion, it's not going to work out for like 99.99% of people. Just as in like sports or whatever, if you enjoy it, if it's not going to ruin all the other aspects of your life, then start it as a hobby, and maybe if it works out really well, then go pro at some point. But yeah, you definitely have to enjoy it.
Yeah, and you're ranked. So this question, I mean, you're ranked 32nd in the all-time money list right now. Do you pay attention to that stuff? Where you are in Germany, where you are in your, do you have goals about, where you want to go? Like what it kind of piggybacks this question. What motivation do you have to keep playing after winning such a large amount of money and already achieving the ultimate poker goal at poker? So I want to answer that question, but then also like curious if you keep an eye on lists and do you have any targets for this type of
yeah, money list, not too much, like a little bit sometimes. I mean, I've looked at it, of course. In general, I like rankings. I like the GPI rankings or whatever. I think it's a cool thing. More serious should have leaderboards. I think more and more serious are doing that. I think it's good. Like a lot of people like that, and you will get more people into the games, I think, or playing more tournaments if you have leaderboard. So in general, I like it. Yeah, so like for instance, one year I was like going for player of the year almost like third or fourth, and I was looking at the leaderboard towards the end of the year for sure. What keeps me motivated after that win, that's super individual, right? Like, so I did play a little bit less now, but that was kind of the plan. I did like a big vacation anyways. I will see and like watch myself. I guess like how I'm gonna like playing the World Series this year. It is going to be a little bit different. I mean, I can't deny that. But I mean, if I want to have goals in poker, there are things to achieve, of course. Like just getting better, like beating the best, and so on. Yeah,
for sure. I got we got a question from Duck Dodgers here about GTO or exploit. Seriously, and can you pick one, or is it just? I mean, it's all the game is constantly, each situation is there. How would you explain GTO versus exploit?
Street poker. Go for street poker. I love the street poker.
Yeah, I like that answer. What is the lowest buy-in tournament that you have played in the last 2 years, both live and online?
I actually played at the EPT Prague now. I played the 300 euro whatever cup it was. So that was fun.
You got a wide range, is what you're saying. Yeah. And what about lowest and highest then on each and online?
Highest tournament I played, like what was the time frame? I mean, I played the 300k was the highest buy, and I played the super high rollerball 300k. Last time I played that, I think 2 years, like before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Online, I've played. I usually don't play anything lower than like 100 or so. Like, yeah, those are the lowest I play usually, and it depends. Sometimes, yeah, like there's some 10Ks, right? Some big ones, and at serious sometimes like 25K or something.
How would you equate the online versus live? Like a 10K online is like what live would you say? How does that calibrate?
Yeah, online tournaments are way tougher in general. Like I don't know, a 1K tournament online is way tougher than a 1K live. Like I'm not sure where it exactly stands to be.
Right. Okay.
To be honest, yeah.
More difficult. This isn't. I don't speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I should, because my wife's kind of embarrassing. But I told you, Koray, I got to learn poker first before I'm learning languages and doing much. We're working up. There were some funny questions. Are you defending the main event this year? You already said yes, right? You will be playing the main event.
Of course.
Does it come with it? Does it come? Is that like, obviously it's sort of irrelevant when you win 8 million, but is that like, is the main event next year bought in for you already or something? Or is that just not part of like how they do it?
Not that I know. I don't know. I don't think so.
Check about that. You don't want to double buy if they have it. You got to know. Oh yeah, this is a funny question. After you won big, what was the weirdest petition you got about lend some money? Did you find any new cousins, any distant relatives, anyone come out or?
Yeah, I mean, this is of course like, I mean, I'm not going to complain. Don't get me wrong, but the negative thing is, I'm getting like tons and tons of messages online, like from people that want money. it's
random people.
I'm sure if I gave everybody money that asked, the money would have been gone like the next, like within a day, even with people not asking for more than 10K. That insane amount of messages.
Wow. Yeah, that's got to be a bit annoying. That's also got to be a little bit of turn off too on social media, because you must be getting Instagram random requests and people asking you for stuff all over the place.
It's a bit better now, but I'm like, but the first few days and weeks were insane, and I'm still getting some now, but like it became less.
Yeah. We see a question here from Clark about, did you ever have a long bad run tilt when you lost so much that you considered stopping poker? If yes, how did you overcome it? So I kind of already asked you this, but did you actually ever consider, maybe not even for that reason, but have you had a point in your career where you're kind of like, you know what, I might be ready to move on, not necessarily because of running?
Actually, maybe not like after downswing, but maybe around the time that we talked about at the beginning of our talk, like 2015-ish. So I was playing poker for 2-3 years now, like half seriously at least, and I didn't really get like to the high stakes or whatever. So I kind of thought to myself, I remember that at the time, if I'm not going to make it within the next year or so, then I can't really miss university or like miss everything else in my life and just play poker. So yeah, so at that time I was kind of thinking about it, but yeah, 2016 kind of was so successful that I thought I made the right decision with poker.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We got a question about John G asking, can you help me win a bracelet this summer? Man, I've got a second. I don't have a first. How do you do it? Can you help me? Give me a pointer for my game. I'll be, we can be open on the forum here. Probably not so much about my game, but a little bit. What do I need to do? Give me a trick. Give me something.
Yeah, you just have to get the poker gods on your side, man. You just, I don't know. Maybe I can show you some tricks how to convince the poker gods that it's your time this year.
Okay, I'll take that. We'll take what we can
but
get.
We can't give them
right
to everyone.
We can't just throw it out there. Yeah, put fully out there, else it won't work. But that's good. That's good news. We might get a tip here. That we answered this. When did you start playing? We already covered that. So can you help? Yep, that. Parents, we've covered that. I always love that. I always love to know how the parents feel. That's good to know they're on board now. Any funny stories, anecdotes from your recent trip to Latin America? Adrian asks. Did you just take a trip there, or?
It was in Argentina and Colombia. Like, not sure if I have anecdotes, but it was incredible. My first time in South America. I started learning Spanish last year, so like Argentina, I loved Buenos Aires. I loved the mountains in Patagonia, and Colombia was super cool too. Like, met a lot of friends there. We did these sports Olympics events. Maybe some of you saw it on my Instagram, where I don't post a lot, but sometimes.
Quality post. It looks like high resolution, and I know we were debating getting you like a social media manager or something, but you either dive in or don't, man. It's that simple. Like, you can't just, it's hard to once you start going down that path, you need some help, or else it can definitely consume you. And I do want to ask about Twitch and YouTube and commentary and this type of stuff. Like, do you see yourself potentially doing stuff or more content in poker or commentary? Have you given any more thought to that recently, especially after doing the Triton stop?
It was definitely fun doing it at Triton. I just like trying things out, like I'm gonna try it out. Maybe I will try out like Twitch or whatever too at one point. I don't know. I'm up to try things out, and if I like it, I will continue. If not, then not. I'm bad at making like super long-term plans anyway, so I just like to look at the nearer future usually.
Very nice. And shooting over here before I forget, because I like to do this each time with guests. I want a prediction, and we didn't really go down this rabbit hole of crypto NFTs and whatnot, but just from a very simple standpoint of, give me a price prediction for Bitcoin and Ethereum for end of this year. So January 1, call it 2022. Where do you think it is? And if you have any other thoughts on crypto.
41 is kind of my number, to be honest. So I like the 41, but I can see it going up, but I'm not like I'm really no expert. I really don't know. Price prediction, but has to go up, right? Like a little bit higher than that. It's going to be possible, I think.
Oh, okay, so slightly north of that in Ethereum, same thing. You kind of bucket them together, both just cryptos.
Yeah, want a number from me? Okay.
Yeah,
and Bitcoin,
how can you win the grand prize if you don't guess a number? I can't just say up from there. We got to continue.
End of the year.
Yeah, end of this year.
Okay, 20. Bitcoin.
What year? 2022.
Bitcoin, little higher. We don't want to shoot for the moon right away, right? So 47,000 for Bitcoin and 3.333 for Ethereum.
All right, we're gonna lock those numbers in. It is 2022, correct? That's the year. It's 2020. You were the 2021 main event champion. This is
it's 2022 already. Damn.
It's It's moving. It is moving for sure. So, all right, we got some price predictions there. We're gonna go over to. We covered a lot of questions we're already covering. Is poker still fun for you, for your soul? I guess you'll answer yes. If so, you are about that. I don't know. Interesting wording there. Is it fun? Do you love playing? Whenever you go sit in a tournament, is it enjoyable for you?
Yeah, it's usually in waves for me. Like when I play a ton, like all the time, I kind of like having a break. Now I had a little bit of a break, so I'm going to play a little. Yeah, but I like the game. I will like the game my whole life. I'm sure. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be a professional all my life. Probably not, but it's just a cool game.
Favorite hobby? What's your favorite hobby to do?
Play football or soccer.
We've covered variance. We've covered goals. Okay, and then a question about would be giving your lifetime earnings you already had a very comfortable bankroll to play with, which was more exciting, winning the huge first place prize money or winning the title? I think he's trying to say if you exclude, would be giving you. I'm not sure, but what to you is more exciting, the 8 million or the trophy? I guess is all.
Yeah, I mean both are pretty exciting, to be honest. I know some people would like say easily the money, and I mean for me it's still the money, I guess. But I like titles. I think it's that's very cool too. And I know how lucky it is to win that tournament, but I'm still like proud in a way, like achieving the title. So yeah,
I think Patrick Leonard made a really interesting post, and it's true. Like I remember Full Tilt used to give those bounty knockout, like anytime they knock out a pro, right? Probably like
yeah,
they spend shipping, the shirt cost, whatever. I don't know. They should really have like a trophy factory because these tournaments they make these sites make money, right? It's not that there's an entry cost to have a trophy and have it shipped. It's like it's probably like less than $10 all in, right? But who doesn't love trophies? Like, it's hard to win a tournament. When you're talking 100, 200, 300 person, even if you play every day, 20 tables, like it'd be sweet. Like I would love to have, when I was a kid, I played soccer and we get ribbons and medals and stuff. And like, it's great. Like I would love to have a trophy case of online, even if it's $20 buy-in tournaments or whatever, and you win one, it's like kind of cool, right? I think, we should do that. I think they should have more of that. You were mentioning to have a trophy, and it is nice, right? It's fun. It's fun to have a trophy. I hope sites start doing that a bit more. We got a question here from someone who solves poker. He's asking about a controversial topic. A couple guys I know you've definitely played some poker with. You got Ali Izmirovic and Jake. What do you and what they're talking about? What do you think about it? This was kind of brought to attention about some RTA stuff and different things going on, and some kind of big topic is brewed about high stakes and some alleged cheating and solver stuff. So without going into specific names, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, tough topic. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not following Twitter all the time, so I'm not sure if if any of those mentioned names have said something. I guess we should give everybody the chance to defend themselves. I've heard, yeah, there were rumors for quite some time in the high roller scene, so kind of most people knew about it. Yeah, it's of course very bad for poker if cheating happens. It's destroying the game. Like RTA using real-time assistance is very, very bad. Obviously, cheating your friends is not cool. Cheating people you know. But yeah, I don't know 100% what's going on, so I'm not gonna like comment on that specifically. But yeah, if cheating from anybody happened, then that's of course not okay at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's a complex one. Rob has been talking about this kind of global poker sort of association, and it's very band of regulations, and it's complicated, as you mentioned. Also, it's a little different. He made a point that when people cheat in blackjack or casino games, you're cheating the house casino. When people are, as you just sort of mentioned, it's not cool, but you're like cheating your friends or people. I think sites and just in general, they're a little less quick because it's like you're cheating one another, right? They're not actually getting. Now, this sounds kind of silly to say out loud, but I think that's part of the problem. But also, there's a lot of privacy issues, and there has to be like beyond reasonable doubt, right? It's very tricky to do these things. And also, let's say you are caught on GG or PokerStars. Does that mean, are they able to share that? And can you just like ban someone everywhere? Can you ban someone live if they're doing something unethical online? You know, like where does this becomes a very complicated situation, right? And I think
it is complicated. It is complicated, and I don't have the solution for it. But yeah, I guess it's also important that people don't just easily get away with it, because it's just. I mean, in any other like context, like stealing, it's basically stealing millions, right? Like it's a pretty insane thing. It's like, I mean, it kind of feels unreal when it's just happening, playing cards online, but it's actually a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, here's Alex Foxen, who's one of the big names in poker, saying poker blacklist can't come soon enough. He says Ali is banned from GG for multi-accounting RTA. I have witnessed numerous chip dumps to horses. I mean, this is a pretty bold allegation and many suspicious changes in play from people to known his horses deep in online. So I mean, this is he's stirring up the pot. There's also there was something said about like I got to find the thing. And again, I don't want to go make this about, it's kind of dark and different, but someone was saying about, I don't know if he was even kidding or what, but it was about like at the Triton, how something with his glasses, he thought he saw like one of Paul's cards, Paul Foy's cards, and then like played and did some different. He showed like an exploitative spot or a GTO spot, right? And was like, this is only possible if he knew this. So I don't know. It just kind of, it's getting front and center, so it's getting a little.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the hand. I don't
Right.
know if anything went on in that hand or not, but like maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But the way bigger thing is like the like RTA online and stuff. If that's true, I mean, of course, everybody can defend themselves.
Right.
And so.
For sure. Fair enough. We're on the same page. What's your favorite German food? German not known historically for the best cuisine. I mean, I got to say, German does a lot of things well. What are you going with there?
German food, yeah, the German food is just so international. Like, yeah, nobody really eats too much German food. Okay, but what's something that only exists in Germany? So me, as being like half Turkish as well, maybe I just have to go for döner, for like the döner, which is kind of has been invented by the Turks in Germany.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess some of you have heard it, but I'm pretty sure it's way worse wherever you live in the world than it is in the original in Berlin or like in some parts of Turkey. Yeah.
Very, 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 very nice. I like that. You did a hybrid there. You covered a couple of things in that answer. I like that. Favorite hand from the final table that you won the World Series main event. I mean, we actually haven't even really looked too in depth on this, but you know, this table, you had that huge hand to win it, the main event. George Holmes, this guy's like home game hero, right? He's like not a professional, at least from what I understand, but I think he played very well from what I understood. You guys had a big match, and I remember that 10-7 to King Queen hand to end it, which was the last hand and very intense spot. I mean, look at the guys literally played the main event twice, at least record or cash wise. So that's his resume, and that's a guy you were playing for the world title. And tell me about that final table. Is there any hand in particular, or one versus heads up?
I mean, of course, the hands that are most memorable are the big ones, like the final hand and yeah, some, like, as I said, I haven't watched it back, right? So like watching it back, I will remember way more. The ones I remember the most are the last one, the 10-7 you mentioned, and the one where I busted my buddy Papo MC with a flopped boat with the 9s against the 10s. That was the huge one, like versus second and chips. Some hands leading up to the final table as well. Yeah. Yeah, those are the most memorable ones.
How was George playing heads up? And did you actually feel, was like you kind of said after day 3 you were short, and then you all of a sudden had a lot of chips and never really looked back and had sort of the chip lead. But like, did you actually feel, was there actually like a interesting sense of pressure? Like, because at the final table, you're covering everyone. You realize you're the most experienced player there by far. You have the chip lead. Everything's sort of in your control. But like once it got the heads up and it was 2-1 lead or 3-1 or kind of tight, right? And I was watching, I was in the room playing, and I saw it on the big screen, and you're behind me, and it looked intense, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't like a cakewalk, like a 10-1, 12-1 chip lead, never had a shot. I mean, it was in reach for him to win. I mean, feasibly, and even there, all in, he had a chance to win. With and then if he had won that pot, he would have had the chip lead even. Is that right?
Yeah. It was all the chips were in play. Yeah, it was pretty insane actually. Like I would have been super crippled. I was I think I was chip leader from 20 left, literally the whole time until heads up. But at heads up, he got the better of me at first. So he took the chip lead for a bit, and so like it went back and forth. We were pretty even actually. So. Yeah, like all tournament, it went super smooth until heads up. I mean, he played pretty well. I mean, very fearless, which is important. Of course, he made some mistakes. We all made some mistakes. I made some mistakes, but I think not being a professional, he played phenomenal. Super nice guy too. I mean, I got to talk to him a little bit. Very very cool. Very happy for him too. Like. Getting that big score. It was super tough. I mean, that last hand I could have lost that, of course, and then he would have won.
Yeah, it's
pretty crazy. Yeah.
did you feel pressure though? Like when he was it when he took the chip lead? Were you kind of like, because in your mind, again, he's playing well, he's an amateur, but who cares, right? Like that's like you're playing for millions and millions of dollars in a heads up match versus an amateur. And all your experience, everything you basically have done, it comes down like, listen, you get second, you're going to be fine, right? Like you won a ton of money, everything's cool, but winning versus second, it's a huge deal. So did you find yourself in a moment needing to calm yourself down or on a break, talk to someone and be like, wow, like, all right, just relax. This is okay. Because if you, like your point earlier, if you overthink it and you be too conservative, it can also backfire, right? Where you're missing value or you don't go for it. And you're like, oh, I want to just whittle this guy down to like, short and never get it all in, which is not how, that's not how you play poker. So how were you able to sort of to get control of your emotions in that moment?
No, I did feel the pressure actually, not only heads up, but also before, because as I was the chip leader like every start of the day, and I was also considered the most experienced player or whatever. So I kind of tried to not look at Twitter all the time and so on, and try to calm down, but of course I did feel the pressure. And heads up too, especially when he took the chip lead for the first time, and they were like the rail was super loud. And I remember at some point like it wasn't going well, and then some of the Brits started chanting like cheering George on, which is fair enough, I guess, but they made some fun songs. So at some point I put my my hood over my head, because I was like feeling the pressure, feeling the emotions and so on. And after winning that last hand, I mean, I was very emotional too there for a second. I mean, I could feel the pressure like coming off me, I guess. It was just pretty big moments, as you might imagine.
Yeah, very, very exciting. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You can always, you can handle it different ways, and you just sometimes don't know because you can't really practice for that actual moment. So very cool. All right, we're going to take a few more, then we're going to do this $100 giveaway. Let's see. We're just mentioned this hand, the 9-9 to 10-10 versus Papo, the Argentinian rapper who's been on a tear. I mean, he won a like 3,000 person Prague event, I think, recently too. He finally tabled the main. Talk to me about him a little bit. How what's his deal? Is he running like God? I know is he playing great? Like he obviously must be doing some things very well. What was
so I didn't know him at all before the main event. I played with him on I think day 4 of day day 5, I think. I played with him the whole day. I still didn't know who he was, and after the day, I found out that he was a rapper, and I looked him up online, and he's like, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of you do know him. He's like very, very big in South America and especially Argentina, where he's from. He has like 2.5 million followers on Instagram or something.
Yeah,
2.7, something like that. Very, very big name. And yeah, he plays poker too. He plays online too. From as far as I know, he loves the game. He's pretty good. He wasn't a professional poker player. He was rapper first place, but I think he's pretty serious about poker. And I got to know him a little bit better, not in Vegas where I just played with him, but in Prague we got to talk a little bit and hung out a little bit. Super nice guy, and yeah, he has made like a lot of deep runs. So sure he's serious about the game. I haven't talked strategy with him or whatever, so I'm not sure. Like, people ask me about that hand a lot. I guess in hindsight he made a mistake against me in that hand where he called off on the river with this pair of tens. He put me on a bluff basically. And I guess in hindsight that's a mistake, but I'm always a fan of going with your read, and I'm pretty sure he knew that his call wasn't like standard. He just felt for some reason that I didn't have it. And that's kind of what brought him so far, right? And he won huge event in Prague, the Eureka, and I think he even won another event. He final tabled the main, so I'm sure he's doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, definitely playing well. All right, let's take we'll do one more here, and we'll do the giveaway. You were at many final tables at big events, but comparing only these two specific, PCA 2018 and WSOP 21, so two main events in big fields and pools. Which one would you say had a higher level of play due to the players that made up those tables?
Tough to say. I guess, to be honest, PCA had more known players at the time, but maybe if you consider like the game evolving within 3 years as well, I don't know. But like on the PCA final table, there were some big names: Maria Lampropoulos, who won, Sean Buchanan, and I got third. Adrian Mateos got fourth. So there was some big names. So maybe like the experience of players overall was higher there. I don't know.
Okay, and I just got to ask, because I did mention this, we talked for a second just now, but what do you, in terms of a proposed blacklist being introduced in poker, do you think this is a good thing? Do you think this is even possible based on what you understand and how that would work?
That's the issue, right? I mean, in theory, of course, it's a good thing, but it's going to be tough to implement that. I mean, who's gonna decide that? Yeah, I mean, if somebody finds a good solution, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess it's important to not get cheaters get away with it so easily.
Right. I mean, I think it's also too, if how I look at it though is I think it's complex, because if you're going to ask people that, I know Rob Young is sort of leading the charge, and he's talked about this for a while, or being involved in having sort of like the thing is, I think poker could use like a FIFA or a governing body, right? There could be elected people, like at some point this just happens, right? It's hard to do, but there is a way to, we can try to do it, right? We can do our best. I'm sure it would be better than nothing. And, that's kind of how it is. Like these major sports and organizations, they do have elected people. Now, granted, they have problems themselves, right? There is corruption. There is not like, it's just like going to solve everything, but at least I think it maybe legitimizes the overall feeling more. And, if you have situations that arise, if there's sort of a protocol that is in place, I think it would actually deter people maybe in the first place. And even if like you can't ban someone on every site or do everything, like if someone gets publicly confirmed by this organization that there's a problem, like they're probably not going to feel so comfortable just to like gallivant around, right, and go play like live in the series, and like just because even though they may be able to play, you're gonna, it's not, you wouldn't feel good if you were known to be confirmed a cheater and you're gonna go sit and just be on TV or whatever, go to like the World Series. Look at like some of the full tilt guys, right? I mean, they were not very comfortably welcomed at places, and it's not so easy just to sit there and do it. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll leave on that note. I know. Listen, I was trying to have a quick. I wanted to quickly cover all of these, but we there's a lot more, man. Look at this. People want to know. We answered a lot. There's some great questions here. There's still some more. You could always take a look and hopefully get to respond. Let's copy this though, and let's get $100 giveaway for someone. Look at that, man. Look at that smile. That's what I'm saying. That's the energy you can't take away, man. That's just pure genuine joy. What a photo. What a moment. Let me figure out how to do this. I'm a little rusty. I'll be honest. I'm going to copy. All right, there we go. Copy. I'm going to go here. I'm going to let you pick it. This is my man DNP3's built system for giveaways. $100. You never know, man. $100 could start a bankroll. You could do a lot with it. I'm going to let you tell me when to do it. So we're going to look at this. It's got bot detection, all the right stuff. Cool. This is a serious tool. Go Koray. If you ever go on to do some Twitch and streaming, you got to get this so you can do some giveaways like this. It's very high tech. This guy built it. He's a legend. DMP3, been on the podcast. I hope it even works. It looks like it works. So I'm going to download this. People who followed instructions, 83 eligible, better than a 1% chance to win $100 right now, Koray. This is intense. All right, we're downloading, and then now it's your turn. It's your time to shine. You get to choose the fate. You tell me when.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, now.
Boom. Choose a winner. I'm sure. Let's load it up. Let's see who's going to get it. It's $100 USD. That's more in Canadian, and it is something in all the other. And he does follow. He does do it all. He did retweet. This guy's retweet. There it is. Look at that. He asked a question as well. Retweeted. He's in the mix. And my man Sullivan147. You just won $100, courtesy of myself, Koray, and everyone. I'm going to go ahead and message him. And Koray, I'm going to say thank you very much. This was very informative. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. People, if you are able to watch the video version, you saw this, or on all the audio outlets, hopefully have Koray on in the future. Hopefully get to do some more commentary together. That was very enjoyable, and I look forward to future stops. I wish you the best at the WSOP. I'm not going to be there for the majority, but hopefully for a bit I'll be there, and it'd be great to get a beer, hang out, and appreciate the time so much. This was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks Jeff. Thanks a lot for having me. That was fun to talk about a few things, and yeah, I hope to see you soon.
Cheers. All right, guys, give him a follow on all the different outlets. As you saw, Twitter, he's more active on Instagram, but he's diving in maybe on the Twitch streets. Stay tuned. If he does, I'm sure I'll let you guys know where you can follow along with him and his poker journey that is, to say the least, gone fairly well this far. So all the best to Koray. Appreciate the time, and we'll see you guys on an episode very soon.
Thanks. Bye.